report. Mr. Fieldman.
Thank you, Mayor Tully. We do have one item for action tonight on the manager's report. It has to do with the village facility project, and here to present information on this item is our Deputy Village Manager, Mike Baker.
Good evening, Mr. Baker.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. There's detailed information related to this item in the council packets, and it relates to action taken on October 11th, where the village council adopted a motion that directed staff to pursue an alternative option for mixed-use redevelopment of the Civic Center. As part of that action, council asked that the call for offers document be brought back for review before its release. So you will find that document included in the packet, along with information explaining how the responses will be reviewed and analyzed, and the decision-making criteria that will be applied. If approved, the motion is approved this evening, council can expect to see those fully analyzed proposals brought back in February of 2017. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Why don't we do this before we can start a discussion? Do I have a motion to direct staff to issue a call for offer / request for a proposal to purchase and develop a portion of the Civic Center property?
Mayor Tully, I move that this council direct staff to prepare a call for offers as presented.
Second.
Second. Questions or comments from the village council?
Yes.
Commissioner Earl.
Once we, in February, once we get results from the call to offer, typically how long are those items good for? I mean, they would come back to us with a proposal. Typically, how long are the proposals good for?
So the proposals themselves will actually be submitted in December before the Christmas holiday season, and then the staff review will take place in January and then present the analysis in February. I would say they're probably good for 90 to 120 days. So action after that, if directed at that point in February, we would begin negotiating a redevelopment agreement consistent with the terms of the preferred proposal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from members of the council? Commissioner Waldeck.
Thank you, Mayor. I am a bit concerned about the process and some comments. The referenda from the public indicated that facilities, that they did not approve of facilities over $46 million. So I keep that in mind. And as you look around our campus here, I think I might have said it once before, but it's a very blighted-looking campus, and could certainly use some improvement, and we do need to address our facilities. But we went through a process with property owned by the village once before. That was with Acadia on the Green, and I would hope that, you know, we went through a process there where where there was a lot of education for the public, getting a lot of input. I know some people may or may not have been thrilled with what happened with Acadia, but it's there. It seems to look like a fine building and fits. There was a lot of input. There was a process, and I think we've learned from that process. And as we go through getting bids and ideas and that we keep in mind that we own this property, and we have a lot to say on what goes in here, what looks right, what doesn't look right. And I'd like to, in some way, many ways, simulate what the process that we used for Acadia to get the best possible result. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner White?
I don't see this vote as being on what the development should look like, what its strengths could be. I see this vote as being on the economic viability of a potential TIF financing option. And it's simply the economic viability, whether it's an economically viable offer, is what we need to decide. As of this evening, I do not know if this particular method will be economically viable or not. But without a proposal from a developer and without the opportunity for TIF consultants to review it, we'll never know. Now, once we if it's not economically viable, we're done. That's it. If it is economically viable, then we can look at the process of the type of development that best fits the location and go through all the site review. So I do not intend to do any site review decisions in February. The decision in February is economic viability as to whether sufficient revenue can be generated. And the economic viability question comes in because of the police station, that if we put the addition on the police station, then the ability to sell the parcels, the value the village can receive is very greatly reduced. I'm very far away from believing that this is the route we should follow, but I'm not prepared this evening to pull the plug and declare the whole process dead. And therefore, without the information on whether it's not economically viable, I can't make a decision. Therefore, I want the information on whether or not it's economically viable, and to do that, we need bids from developers and we need TIF consultants. So based on that, I will be voting yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments from members of the council? Commissioner Jose?
Thank you, Mayor. I thank Commissioner White for his comments. I think he's 100% right that we need information, and that's what it is that we're gathering. I just think we should be wary of hearing numbers like 46 million. The pertinent number is 14.5 million. We were going to spend 14.5 million on the police station and a renovation, and what we're trying to determine is whether or not we can spend that same 14.5 million along with other dollars that are not generated from our taxpayers. We're not looking to raise taxes and still get not just a renovated police station, but in fact combine two buildings and get economic development in our downtown area. It may well be that we can do that, and we need to find out whether or not that's possible, and that's the process we're undertaking. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Earl?
I do understand that the Village Hall definitely needs some serious work. Whether it needs to be completely replaced, probably. The police station, the needs have been very obvious for a long time. I'm not denying the fact that both of these facilities have major needs. I do understand that there was already an approved plan for the police station, but I think that all in all, with all of the development we have going on downtown, I feel like we're jumping the gun just a bit, maybe a year, on going ahead with this, because we can't know everything that's going to happen in the next year with all the development that's going on downtown. I'm not saying we shouldn't ever do this. I just think that we're rushing. And I don't feel like this is the best thing to do at this time. And I would like to hold off on this and give it a little time.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments?
One more.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Thank you. Just to be clear, I do agree with Commissioner White that we need information. To me, it's much more than economic. I know we need the economics, see if the numbers do indeed work. My concern is long-term and process. Like I say, what's important to me is the referendum clearly said 46 million. They didn't care. It wasn't listed as whether it's taxpayer dollars or economic development. If you do a TIF, it's economic development. And so, there's different checkbooks that we have, different pots of money. And so, if it isn't taxpayers, if you spend too much, it comes out of the taxpayers or the residents, the citizens, one way or the other. So, that's a concern of mine. The process is a concern of mine, but I will support, I will support getting more information. And to me, it's much more than economic. It's our downtown that we're concerned about. So what goes in this property is important to me, and not just on an economic value, but what it does for the entire village, for all of our residents, and not just economics. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other questions or comments from members of the council? I will then just add a clarification or maybe a reiteration of my thought process here for both my colleagues and for the public. And I just want to start out by, as I like to do, use an analogy. Someone could ask me right now, would I sell my house? And I would probably say, of course not. I just built it 3 years ago. Why would I do that? But the real answer is, well, it depends on what the offer is. I cannot say that under no circumstances would I not sell my house. It would depend on the offer I got. And that's kind of where my mind is right now. I don't think any of us, I don't think anyone in the community could say that under no circumstances would we go forward with a proposal different than the renovation project that is on the board right now for the police station. We haven't seen what the offer is. And I think all we're saying, and what I'm hearing in different ways from different people, is kind of the same thing, is, well, I'd like to see the offer, and then we can talk about things such as the process for getting it to look like what we want, if we decide to go down that path. Or we may decide not to go down that path at all. I'm obviously, everyone is cognizant with the recent referendum, but the referendum was one that took place in the context of a concrete proposal being on the table. People knew what it was that was proposed, and they voiced their opinions about various aspects of it, pro and con. This is completely different because there's no proposal on the table. We don't know what the proposal is yet. So no one can weigh in and say that under no circumstances they would not support it, or that they would support it because they haven't seen it yet. All we're asking for here is, all I'm asking for here is I want to see the proposal. I want to see the best possible offer that may be out there, and as Commissioner White says, if it ain't good enough, then we go about our business. But we just don't know yet. All I want to know is what's out there. There may be an opportunity to do something that is very different than what the referendum addressed. In fact, just by location alone, we know it will be. It could solve many other things that have been left unsolved by the police department renovation. Other issues with the whole area that could add additional benefits to this community, some of which people have been asking for decades. And if we were to give up an opportunity to potentially address those from a public safety and other standpoint, I think that would be a shame. And again, that may not be possible, but I don't know. We may have some partnership opportunities where we can solve the needs of more than one taxing body in this community in one fell swoop, which I think would be something that would be in the best interest of our shared constituents. We may or may not be able to do that, I don't know, but I'd like to see whether we do have the opportunity. And certainly I want to see if we can do this at a cost and at a risk tolerance level that is vastly improved over what it was that the community had a tough time swallowing last year, or last time, I should say. And again, I just want to see what is the best proposal that we can get. And based on an assessment of that, then we can decide how we go forward. And to Commissioner Waldak's point, I remember the Acadia process very well, and I also remember we didn't go with the first proposal. We thought we liked the first proposal, and we dug into it, and we decided after a bit, you know, we don't like the first proposal so much, and we brought back the number 2 person. I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that here should we go down that path. We'll see, but the first question is, let's see what's being proposed, and then we can see whether it's worth going into that level of detail. And certainly, I agree with Commissioner Waldak that that process will necessarily be one involving a lot of public input. And here, unlike other projects, we have a great deal of control over what things look like and how they lay out. The other thing is, I'm also not concerned about moving too fast, although I'm certainly empathetic with Commissioner Earle's thoughts. And just to use the same analogy, I don't view this as jumping the gun because I don't think we've even lined up at the starting line yet. We're going to find out whether this is a race we even want to run, and if we do, then we can look at timing if necessary, although I think there are some exterior factors that come to play here, but I don't even think we're there yet. I really just want to know as quickly as possible without too much more delay, because if we end up not doing something else and we end up going forward with the police renovation, I'd like to make that decision in a way that we can all sleep at night and explain to our constituents why we chose not to even consider something, and go forward with that other project as quickly as possible and not delay any further, or at least more than necessary, the renovation of the police station. So that's one of the other reasons why I'd like at least this stage to go quickly, or as quickly as reasonable, so that we at least know what we're dealing with. Then we can, if we decide it's something worth pursuing, we can always look at some of the other issues as well that I think a number of us have raised. Well, just to be very clear,